Breaking news coming in today, Thursday, February 5th, 2026. Saab is officially targeting a massive, and I mean massive, production increase to 36 Gripen fighter jets per year. This could be a monumental shift in European air power. And if you support Ukraine, if you support freedom and justice, you'll want to hear this. Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. Join me in the latest program by Defense Report for the latest in global defense news, military technology, and strategic developments. And today, we're going to cover something that feels like a potential game changer. A future fleet of, get this, 100 to 150 Gripens for Ukraine, and the industrial surge needed to make it happen.
There's absolutely huge development. Just to give some context, Saab's CEO, Michael Jansen, has confirmed they're retooling their entire process. The goal is 36 jets a year.
Okay, I have to jump in there. 36. When we hear about, American companies pumping out F-35s by the 100, 36 sounds, well, a little modest. Is that really a big deal?
For Saab, it's monumental. I mean, you have to remember, their historical max was around 18 jets a year. And lately, it's been even lower.
So they're doubling their peak output.
Exactly. This isn't just flipping a switch. It's a complete overhaul of their production philosophy, really, to meet what is essentially a wartime demand.
So what lit the fire? Why the sudden scramble now?
It all tracks back to October 2025. That's when Kyiv and Stockholm signed a letter of intent.
A letter of intent, so not a firm contract just yet.
Not a sign on the dotted line contract, no. Think of it more as a very, very serious political handshake. But the ambition laid out in it is staggering. They're talking up to 150 Gripen E models.
Wow.
Yeah. And that potential order forced the industry's hand. They had to say, okay, if this is real, we need to start gearing up right now.
Let's get into the hardware then. We hear so much about the F-16 for Ukraine, but the Gripen? It seems like it might be a much better fit for their actual situation. Why is that?
It really comes down to one core concept: dispersed operations. The F-16, it's a fantastic jet, but it's a bit of a diva. It needs long, pristine runways, a lot of ground support.
And those are major targets for Russian missiles.
Precisely. The Gripen E, on the other hand, was designed from the ground up to be like the rally car of fighter jets. It's built to operate from anywhere.
You mean like literally landed on a highway?
Literally. You can use a regular stretch of road, refuel it, rearm it with a tiny crew. We're talking conscripts, not a team of specialized engineers, and have it back in the air in just minutes.
That's a survival superpower when your air bases are under constant threat.
It absolutely is. You can't destroy an air force that doesn't have a fixed address.
I'm looking at the tech specs here. The Raven ESO-5AE Curie radar, the Rex's electronic warfare suite. Can you break that down for us? What does that mean for a pilot in the cockpit?
Okay, so the ASA radar, think of it like having 360-degree vision. It can track multiple targets without you ever having to point the jet's nose at them. The Alexa suite, that's your digital cloak. It actively jams and confuses enemy radar so they can't get a lock.
So it's incredibly high-tech, but it's also rugged and low maintenance.
That's the perfect way to put it. And you pair that digital cloak with something like the Meteor missile, a beyond visual range weapon, and you have a jet that can hit Russian fighters before they even know it's there.
I completely get the appeal. But here's the big question, the elephant in the room. The timeline. Reports say deliveries could start 3 years after a contract is signed. In this war, 3 years feels like an eternity.
It does. There's no arguing that. But in the world of advanced defense procurement, where a decade is normal, 3 years is practically light speed. And Saab is building a global system to make it happen.
You mean beyond their main plant in Sweden?
Exactly. They're leaning heavily on their joint plant with Embraer in Brazil, which is already starting to deliver jets. This creates a more resilient supply chain. But the real game changer here is the talk of putting final assembly inside Ukraine.
Wait, building them in Ukraine? During the war? That's incredibly bold.
It's a huge strategic move. It's about resilience. It means Ukraine could maintain, repair, and test its own fleet domestically. It shifts them from being a customer to a partner. And Saab has the momentum to do it. With recent big sales to Colombia and Thailand, they're proving they can deliver.
It really signals that Europe is digging in for the long haul. This isn't seen as a short-term crisis anymore.
That is the core message here. You don't build a fighter jet factory for a brief skirmish. This is a 30-year commitment to securing Ukraine's sky, sending a clear signal that this support is not going to fade away.
A very powerful thought. You've been listening to Defense Report by Alex, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry. Lizant, subscribe to Defense Reports, your trusted source for timely, in-depth military and defense analysis. We'll see you next time. Keep supporting us so we can continue bringing you the latest developments from Ukraine and around the world.